Hello,
Hello.
welcome to this podcast, and thank you for joining me on such a short notice. It's a wonderful evening here, and I don't want to spend too much time on any kind of preamble. The topic
Hmm.
that I am um, brooding over is death, and
Right.
yours is one of the quite a few conversations I've been having. So, my
Hmm.
first question to you, as a human being, uh, when the word death uh, is uttered or comes to your notice,
Hmm.
what are your feelings about it?
Um, okay, I'm not sure. Maybe at this point it's relevant to give my background a bit, which will help people
Hmm.
understand where I come from and why I think or say things the way I do. Anyway, thanks for having me on this talk. Anyway, it's a pleasure to be with you. Um, for my just to give a brief idea, I practice alternative medicine, and I have background in past life regression, which has been quite close to my heart, and I worked quite a bit on it for the last few years, and it has sort of given me another perspective and revelation to life which I didn't have before I did the course. So that's where my main idea of death and life is mainly. That's where I get the perspective that I do have right now. And when you say what the word death makes me feel or what it does to me, it's always a bit mixed. Um, but more so, I always think it is more death is a final celebration of life. That's how I would look at it as, and it is one of the most crucial and precious moments of life, which is often overlooked or underestimated or just trampled upon.
Okay,
So for me, it is a very crucial moment.
why would you use the word celebration?
Celebration, in the sense, it's like the final episode of life, which has to be a big bang. It is an exit, but it is a big bang exit. So it is something you can't ignore. You have to embrace it. There is no choice. And in that sense, because it is sort of the finale of it's like a finale of a race for me, and the finale of a race is always a relief. It is a joyous process to me, in my understanding. So it has to be the culmination of the entire process that you have lived so far. Hence celebration. Make sense?
Okay, uh, I have two different questions with the same thing. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
in fact, three. So, the first question is in a way two pronged, which is not two separate questions. So when you say death is a celebration in the way you expressed it right now, so there is the death of somebody else that we can talk about, and there is
Mm-hmm.
also one's own mortality as a thought.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about celebration and you use the word going with a bang and a very unlike uh, general perception that one hears about death.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so, what are you referring to? Uh, are you referring to other people's death as well? And how does one make that a celebration then, if
Um,
someone has passed away?
yeah, it is more complicated when it is a very close dear one's death, and it's difficult to view it as a celebration because the feeling of loss is way more prominent and dominant at that point. But it is an effort and a conscious awareness that is needed to go beyond it. You do have a period of mourning, you do have grief, but it is a constant state of awareness that will be needed to go beyond it and to look at it as a positive note. It's difficult, especially in cases where there are young people dying or um, unfairly appearing deaths. It's more difficult in those cases, but much easier in older cases, older deaths and sorts. But it is a constant need for awareness. That is absolutely needed, and just that taking the morbidity out of death. That is another thing that's culturally still not there anywhere in the world. I don't see that happening anywhere, not commonly at least. So there is a huge morbid factor. You don't talk about that. You refer to your own death or your loved one's death. It's a no-go zone sort of thing. That makes it even worse. That makes it even worse because you're never prepared for it. So I guess somewhere it is this. You have to work throughout your life to come to the understanding of death, may it be your death or your loved one's death. But it is an awareness that you have to make an extra effort for, more so in the current culture and societal thinking that we do have. Um, but it is something that can be achieved, and which sort of is more respectful for the person passing, I feel, and more easier for both parties involved, the person passing and the person who's experiencing the loss. It does make the process more easier if you're quite embracing of the idea of death to begin with.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I've answered your question. Have I?
You have. In fact, I want to first clarify that in a way, have you also answered the other question by taking some meaning out of this that you may have not specified? So when you said that it is a celebration, and my question was, are you romanticizing it a bit too much? Was a question that I was preparing to ask you. Now, by the way you described it, I realized that there are two layers that were apparent to me. One is your medical background, a bit of that, and the second part being your attempt to understand life through past life therapy. I will have to admit that I do not understand a lot about it. I know about it, but I would not want you to get into details right now because it will move off topic then.
True.
That is a separate topic of interest for many people perhaps. But my question to you is, have I understood that right? That your present understanding of death and the way you're expressing it as a celebration, as a culmination that can be looked at positively, comes from these two aspects as of right now.
Yes, mainly these two aspects. I've also looked into the Buddhism perspective of dying and everything, which all of them talk about it in that perspective. So that also is another massive input for me.
Okay. So now my question to you, you spoke about culture. I would not want to get away from you so much and get into generic talk because that again is a belief system. I would rather talk about your experiences as a person. Now there are two ways to look at it. Now I am playing the devil's advocate first, where maybe the people that have passed on have not been too close to you, or maybe your own rapport with them has not been great. Is one question that is coming to my head. The second part could also be that you. Pardon me for saying this, but yeah, maybe you're so full of yourself that you do not realize that death could be a huge event, which has a lot of gravitas also. So maybe um, in your outlook, you haven't factored the grief that a lot of people have about ailments, about other heartbreaks, or life just being difficult for economic reasons, social reasons, or loneliness or depression of some sort. There are various ailments of the mind and the body that push people into not very happy deaths, if I were to call it that. So my question to you is multi-pronged. From your personal experience, what makes you still say that this could be a celebration? Is it, have you questioned yourself that you are being blindsided to the other side, or have you also factored that in your approach?
I have experienced death of loved ones early in life and more recently too, and I have experienced both very differently because of where I was in my maturity and understanding of life and death. So when I was young, it was denial mainly, and with time you sort of get over it. It was as simple as that. That was my early teens, and recently I've had the death of another loved one, but that was again not very planned for. It was rather unexpected, um, and I can see the massive difference because of my change in perspective. And I have made a conscious effort to not mourn it. There is nostalgia factor. There are sweet memories which do make me feel bad, undoubtedly, but I am more easily overcoming it. Let me put it that way. I can still see the joy in his passing. Again, it's a conscious effort. And as for your comment on the gravitas associated with death, it is again your individualistic perspective. It's how you want to celebrate it or mourn it or interpret it for yourself. It for me, it is a neutral event. Life, death, birth, they're all neutral events. It is what you perceive it, how you understand it from your filter.
Very
So
nice.
if you want to mourn it and make it a miserable thing for yourself and for all the involved parties, then yes, that's what it is. But if you want to go beyond it and say that person has been lucky to find peace and go to a better place, I have to now find my peace and be rising above the grief. I'm not saying there will not be grief. There will definitely be grief. There will be days when you'll feel down about it. But it is embracing that and rising above it. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
And all the problems that come with the death of a loved one, maybe social, economic, all of that has to be dealt with. That is not a reason to make the mourning worse or not see the joy of the transition.
Okay, this is very, very beautiful. Uh, Thank you for expanding so well on what would otherwise be a very uh, difficult to speak topic in clear terms. So now my question is fairly simple. You spoke about two words stuck with me, what you've been saying so far. One, you kept repeating the word awareness a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but at some point, you also did mention I overcome it better.
Mm.
My personal understanding is awareness is mostly choiceless because it is kind of an graceful acceptance of events,
Mm.
the state of mind, I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then overcoming is then a different kind of uh, strength of strength or determination to overcome something. So I
Mm-hmm.
find there is an active um part in the overcoming, but there is a sense of passive part in awareness. You're just aware, okay, there is pain right now, but it's okay. This shall pass. There is acceptance, there is grace, all kinds of mood swings, but you are aware and you allow them to come and go as they please. So my question to you is, how do you differentiate between the awareness or the overcoming part? Is there a difference in your head, or is overcoming one of the moods of?
I guess it is just called being human after all.
Yeah.
It is difficult to maintain that sense of equanimity 24 hours a day, 365 days a week. As much that would be the goal and objective. But being humans and being influenced by the environment and everything else around you, I guess you do have the occasional slips where you sort of feel you're sort of feeling helpless and sort of losing that sense of equanimity temporarily. That's where the overcoming and the strength and the awareness has to be reignited from within. So the awareness is there, but sometimes it sort of takes a backseat with something else that sort of dominantly comes over, or somebody tells you something. It could be an environmental factor mostly, and that is where the overcoming aspect comes in. So I guess you sort of swing between the two at times.
Yeah.
but I guess the core is the awareness and the understanding, the depth of understanding. Once that is established, it's much easier. The overcoming is just gameplay. It's just simple. It happens. There is no way it will not happen.
Yeah.
You're not going to spiral down with it.
Yeah, I understand, because one of the things that comes to me, what I also did mention, this too shall pass, also meant that
Mhm.
it will have its moments, and you just take them for what they are. These are just moments. These are just
Correct.
bad times. We'll
True.
just let them be. And right now, I'm not in my best position to fight
Mm.
this.
Mm.
Let the bad mood win, for example.
Mm. 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 Mm.
So I have a very interesting question, a genuine question at this point. Generally, I try
Mm.
to take the conversation forward, but here I'm
Mm.
intrigued by the fact, um, this awareness that you speak of.
Mm.
In your case, I do not,
Mm.
if possible, if you do not mention uh, what past life therapy is or other things, whatever you've learned. You've done a
Mm.
lot of other stuff in your learning as
Mm.
a doctor as well, I'm sure.
Mm.
I want to know individually, as a person, this awareness that you have, which helps you now,
Mm.
what is it? Would you be able to explain where this state of mind comes from? How do you free yourself from the constancy of the void that the death causes?
Um, it's going to be very difficult to frame that answer for that question.
Yeah, I know.
Um,
I wanted you to
it's
personalize, because I'm sure you can give methodology. But
right.
somewhere the trigger must have happened. You did mention there were two time frames. One was earlier in your life when you went through something like this.
Yeah.
Then again, recently you've gone through something similar.
True.
What is it that the earlier person that was you did not have? Besides, obviously, experience and wisdom that comes with age,
Yeah.
but
Yep.
some
Yep. Yep.
bigger point, because you're talking about something very, very, like I said, when I used the word gravitas, it was not so much my personal this, but just the fact
Mm.
that sometimes life is too heavy for a lot of people.
True.
And until
True.
it's nice, they are not
Mm.
necessarily complaining, but you understand that they're going through tough
Mm.
times.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
The
Mm.
gravitas of death came from there. But anyway,
Mm.
I do not want to go back there again. I want
Okay.
to understand where do you find this awareness point, and what is it? What do you tell yourself? What is it that you make peace with, or is there no peace to be made? It's
Oh
automatic.
no, no, no. Of course, it's um, it's a yeah. It's very difficult to get the thing succinctly put. Okay, my main resource, like I said, has been all the stuff that I did with past life regression and the Buddhist perspective of Sogyal Rinpoche's book, the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying, has been hugely
Yeah.
influential as well. Um, Apart from the Indian perspective, the more Hinduistic knowledge of what death is and everything, all of it had its own contributions to where I came to in life now.
Hmm.
It is more getting, I think, the bigger idea of life beyond this sensory life that you live is, I think, at the very core, because we get so carried away with the day-to-day economic processes and living and eating and celebrations of the more sensory sort. I think you often tend to lose the bigger picture, and I guess that awareness is absolutely needed and necessary to be at the very core of your life and belief system, to then embrace death positively. Without that higher and bigger understanding of life beyond this current life that you can visualize through your senses, there is no way you can embrace death. I think that is at the very core.
Super.
Once you have that understanding, and this is a consequence, this is an automatic consequence, and there's no working at accepting death. It automatically happens beautifully as a consequence of having that bigger understanding, I think.
Okay.
It is not an effort and a conscious, oh, I have to embrace it, I have to embrace it sort of thinking. Doesn't need to be there at all. It automatically happens. It's like you eat and you're satiated. It's that sort of a thing. You don't have, oh, I've eaten, so now I need to feel satiated. No, that is not how you work, right? So it is having this bigger understanding at so many levels. There are levels and dimensions and so much to it, which our current mind can't even understand and put it all together like a jigsaw. It's just all pieces of jigsaw. And you know the possibilities all exist at massive levels. From there, that seems insignificant in front of all of that. So for me, I guess it is a consequence of that understanding. And it happens naturally as long as, again, this hasn't happened overnight. I have spent years at consciously working at developing that understanding and getting to a rhythm that sits with me and resonates with my personality. Of course, everybody's will be slightly different, but that is the core picture, I think.
Okay. Thank you so much again. Very beautiful. I have a bit of understanding from this, what you said. I'll try and say it in my words. Please correct me if I'm wrong. So, since you've been saying this is a consequence more than once, so my understanding is it's a consequence because there is a sense of awareness now and again and again and again and again. So you are making it a practice of sorts to be reminded of your or others' mortality and accepting it for whatever it is worth. I will not get into the depth of what you said in terms of uh, the realms that we are talking about, and there are a lot of layers to it because that subject itself is quite vast.
Oh,
But,
yes, yes.
but the basic understanding of, okay, I accept my mortality because I am only this much. I am what I generally tend to call it a mind and body. I am this. I am a result of my thoughts, emotions, feelings, and how I perceive or am perceived by the world. So more or less a combination of these things. And you've been thinking about the mortality of this for yourself and for others. So that conscious choice to keep doing this as much as you are pursuing your work life, your personal life, and your other things, other responsibilities, you're saying is an important aspect that anybody who wants to arrive at a certain kind of wisdom about death has to go through.
True, true.
Have I understood
Yes.
that correctly?
Yes, absolutely. Just one other aspect I would like to add. You got all of it mostly in place, but that we are a culmination of our body, mind, and emotions, and beliefs and feelings, and more.
Yeah.
That is all that you can relate to, but there is more which you don't understand or relate to. So that more is what is the most significant part of your existence,
Yeah.
and that's what makes all the difference.
Yeah, I think as far as my understanding of Buddhist concept goes, the underlying thing of cause and effect works throughout.
It does.
Okay, so I have a question to ask you on the overall understanding that you've had so far. You mentioned certain books, certain theories, beliefs that you had, certain courses that you did. Without sounding condescending or even meaning to sound condescending, there are enough number of people I know who are. I myself have been a reader of all kinds of books. I must have read some of what you've read, and sometimes even more, and gone into it. My personal experience has been that books can help you only so much because it is not my lived knowledge. I found myself grappling with a lot of these subjects, not necessarily as grave as death, but even other things, loss of a job, a relationship, or any such thing, and found it very difficult to deal with little and big setbacks because of this.
Right.
My question to you is, because you've read these books, how do you get out of that and make it experiential as a truth, or is it not necessary at all?
Um, yeah, like you say, getting the bookish knowledge and all of that only goes as far. It is until you experience it, it never really ties in together. True. But again, you have to be aware of how much are you internalizing the concepts, how much are you resonating with the concept. There are some concepts that you don't resonate with, and then you can't try to digest those ones, because if you don't resonate with it, it is just not for you. So then you move on and find concepts that you resonate with. Again, a lot of people get stuck because this is what the majority are following and I need to follow this. I think a lot of people get stuck on that course, which doesn't do them any good. So they'll spend a lifetime behind it without resonating with it at a very deep level, because a lot of people don't even are not even honest with themselves. They don't know what they really resonate with and not. And it is okay to not resonate with what the majority are resonating with. That sort of acceptance are not there in many. I guess that is part of the problem. So for you to then, you will just feel the click. It's a very individual thing. It's a very personal thing. There's no way I can say, oh yes, that will click for you and that will not. You have to feel it. It's something that you have to go beyond your mental analysis. It has to go much deeper. And that sort of resonance you will either take to the idea or not. And once you take to it, there is no way you will not internalize it. There's no way you will not embrace it or follow it in life if you have really taken it in. So again, like I said, that is also a consequence, like I said before. It is not something that you have to, if it is something that you're consciously trying hard to work and understand, then you're on the wrong path. That's not for you. There's some other idea or something else that will resonate with your personality and your belief system. So the tweaking it's a lifetime process. It's not something that happens, okay, I've done it for 10 years and I'm done, sorted. No, it's a lifetime process. You will do it till the very last breath of your life is what I see and understand it as. So it's not that I know everything about that and I'm all at, yes, I am at peace with that idea. It doesn't bother me, or the morbidity isn't there for me as it was there years ago. But it's still a lifetime's work. I still have more of understanding of it. I have more layers to figure out and get the knowledge of. Have I answered your question?
No, do you also fall back sometimes in terms of, do you regress in your learning or your understanding of the same thing? Suppose you've understood a concept, or you think you've understood your concept.
Right.
You've reached a point where life being life, it does feel like at that point of time.
Curveballs, all the time, yes.
So when it kind of hits you and you are like, okay, I thought I had this particular subject sorted, and it does not seem the same. And so do you also fall back and realize maybe it's not worked very well? And is that why you keep saying that it is a lifetime project or lifetime understanding? Because we keep evolving also, no? It's not that we are the same.
Yeah. Absolutely. There are times where that can happen, but I think if your core belief system is in place, it's very easy to retweak and see the sense in it. It wouldn't be too much of an effort or too much of being stuck in that place, because your core concepts are in place. The core beliefs about nature and the life beyond and everything is in place. So to pick up from there and work it out will not be too difficult if a curveball does hit you.
I've been asked this often enough myself, so let me ask you, how does one reach this core?
How does one?
Like you said, this understanding, wisdom, core belief, you can call it whatever, God, nature, providence, whatever names you want to give anything.
Yeah.
Some of the wisest people are not learned at all in the worldly sense. They know a language from.
I think that serves them very well, actually.
Yeah, I would agree fully on that. Who knows the problems of extra knowledge than we do.
More than true than guiding you. Correct.
Yeah. So my question to you is, whatever little bit that you have, quote unquote, earned or reached or have been lucky to stumble upon.
Mhm.
Is there anything that you would want to share in terms of, okay, this is an inherent value that helps me reach the core more easily? Is it honesty only, or is there anything more?
I think that is a fundamental place to start. Just being honest with yourself and knowing your true self. Being in touch with your true self, as simple as it sounds, seems to be somehow the most complicated thing for many people. That forget being honest with others, but being honest with yourself and knowing your true strengths, weaknesses, where you are, what you could do better, what you already are reasonably good at. That awareness of your true self is a starting point, I would say. Once that is established, then you have some material to work with. If you are so busy putting up a mask and sort of ticking boxes for the world and the society around, you don't know who you are. What do you work with? So being in touch with your true self and having that connection with your true self, being in touch with your emotions, your beliefs, reevaluating them all the time is the very starting point. That is a starting point. Once that is in place, like I said, the foundation is set and it is easier to build on things. So that is your core. And then when you get information, when you get knowledge, it is easier to work with it because then you will know whether I resonate with this or not because you know who you are to begin with. Otherwise, you're just following somebody else's path. It may not be your path, but the majority are following it. We just follow it. Is what happens generally. Because most people don't want to just conform and get on with life. They don't want to go that extra mile and do the self analysis and the deeper connection with yourself. Is difficult. It's job. It's an effort, and they don't want to do that. And that's what lands you into trouble in the long term, because you have lived a life without knowing who you are, what you want, what ticks you, and you are at death's door, and you're all mortified because you don't understand it for yourself. There's no way you're going to understand others as either. So it's unfortunate, a waste of a lifetime. Unfortunate, but not very uncommon. So yeah.
How do you not be judgmental about understanding a truth? Because a lot of people carry a lot of guilt and beliefs that are not really conducive to their own self. While uh, one may be very easily putting them down, saying this is an idiotic way to look at things, it's not that easy because one little example I can give you. Today, a friend and me were talking about the situation in the world right now. We were talking about so many people being fearful.
Mm.
So my friend also happens to be a meditator. He says this time has brought out what was already latent in a lot of people.
True.
So I come from that perspective in this question. When one is inherently feeling a sense of guilt or is not respectful of his own journey, his or her own journey, how does this part that you said, because as it is difficult. So if I have a it's a very simple thing. If I have a bad habit of lying, for example, I lie because I'm fearful of being caught about my business or about something or anything, and and I'm very good at it. So I succeed. The world kind of is celebrating. So I remove the mask and I start telling myself, "Oh, you're a liar. You're a liar." Now the liar part does not come without the judgment. It comes with the judgment. So my question to you is, how do you let go of the judgmental part and still grow? Or do you have anything else to say on that?
No, the core is clear. It is not about judgment at all, because that is not productive at all. It is about being gentle on yourself, getting the awareness of yourself, and understanding the reason for why you're doing what you're doing. There's always a reason. It's then down to you to figure it out for you. So if you're lying, why are you lying? Do you just want to look good in front of the world? Then why do you want to look good in front of the world? So all of this thought process will lead you to the core of why you're doing what you're doing. And once you figure that out, then it's up to you to whether you want to drop it or continue it. There is no judgment if you want to continue it. Some people just find it easier to do it, and that's fine. Good for them. As long as you're aware that that's what you're doing, go for it. But living a clueless life, that I know I'm lying, but I don't know why I'm lying, I don't want to know why I'm lying, is where the problem lies. And it is not about judgment at all. It's about evolution. It's you wanting to evolve and make you the best version of yourself that you possibly can be. All the efforts is directed at that and that alone. There is no judgment, no critical analysis that is meant to make you feel bad. No, it is just a deeper understanding of why you do what you do, and can you do better. It comes down to as simple as that. And that's for your own benefit. It's not to look good in the world or to no aesthetics there. It is just for your own self if you want to do it. And if you don't, that's perfectly fine too. But not to feign ignorance. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
You can't play the ignorance card. That's all.
Sorry, please repeat what you said.
No, you can't then play the ignorance card. Oh, I didn't know I could do all of this and get better. Is not an excuse. It's as much as people love feigning ignorance and wish I had known that, I would have done so much better and everything would have been so much better. No, you always knew that but never chose it.
Yeah, we just choose to call it the bliss card.
Yes, that too.
Okay, one wonderful thing that has come to me from whatever you shared in this brief chat. Generally, on my own particular spiritual path, I've heard almost all of this and more in far more convincing and very, very surprisingly awe-striking ways. And yet most of the time I've always found it very tacky that people give this kind of gyan. It's very rare. It's not that I have not met people who believe in these kind of things, but it's very rare to hear these things in the way that you have expressed them, in the context of personalizing them and internalizing them to the point that you have done so far.
Okay.
And I think it's a wonderful thing because it for me at least, I don't know who else takes this from this chat, is it relieves me of judging that all these tacky things are just nice to say.
Because they're lovely cliches most of the time. Yes.
Yeah, and it's demeaning to the truth to be expressed like this. And I think you put them so well in terms of expressing the depth of emotions and the layers of thought processes that you follow to reach whatever wisdom you have reached so far. I think that gives it a lot of weight to me. So I think this has been a wonderful, wonderful chat.
Yes.
I would want to just leave it here because you have left a lot of thought bombs to think about for our audience. And I would want each one of them to spend time with themselves to figure out how they want to take this forward. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. It was really, really a fun conversation to have. And yeah, I was happy to speak my heart out. Rarely can you do that in these days. Not many people want to listen to it either. So thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thanks.